Am I the asshole for agreeing to not invite SIL to my wedding? It sounds bad, but hear me out. My dad is a rich businessman and is paying for a very expensive wedding. His relationship with my fiancée, D, is a little strained, but him and SIL, H, outright hate each other. I and D come from very different cultural backgrounds, so we're planning on getting married twice, both a Christian wedding followed by an Indian one in a few months. D's parents are paying for the Indian wedding. H came out as lesbian some years ago and all of her family cut ties with her. Everyone except D, which made them grow much closer over the years. They were already very close due to being just 2 years apart. My dad is religious homophobic, but only to those who agree with him, or close to him. He's good at hiding his views as to not affect the business. H is also a lawyer and doesn't take shit from anyone, so they obviously hate each other. Now my dad called me some days ago and told me that if I wanted him to continue to sponsor our wedding, I would have to uninvite H. One of her friends was his longtime client whom she persuaded to not do business with a religious bigot. I had no other option than to agree, since a lot of the stuff had been booked: venue, plane tickets, hotel rooms, so I agreed. I called H and told her what happened and she quietly agreed to being uninvited from the first wedding. When I told D about it, he flipped out. He's rarely ever been angry at me, but that day he was livid. After some minutes of yelling, he calmed down and said in a very calm voice, "I'm either getting married with my sister present, or I'm not getting married. I am at a loss here. Having to pay for all that stuff from our pockets would seriously hurt our finances." H has tried to convince her brother to let this go, but he wouldn't budge. Was this really that outrageous of an idea? Small clarification: my dad won't lose on any money as we cancel, we will. Even if we cancel THW wedding, the hotel rooms and the flights are non-refundable. We aren't as well off as my dad is. IDK if this changes anything, but it isn't about not having a big wedding, it's about US losing a lot of money in deposits and non-refundable bookings. Since this is still getting replies, yes, H is invited to the Indian wedding and D has cut out anyone trying to be homophobic from the guest list. It's down to like 25 people now. We had planned our wedding beforehand. Dad just offered to pay for us to expand the guest list, essentially by 2.5. D still wanted to pay for his close family, so Dad asked us to book the rooms and venue and he'd pay us back at the end of the month. So it's not about having a big wedding, but about losing a lot of money on the booking. It is not about not having a big wedding. It is about losing all of the money we had paid if he doesn't pay us back. And anyone asking me to get revenge on my dad by telling everyone what happened, nobody's going to believe me over him. I don't know if people are trying to troll me or if everyone here has the same comment to make, via the comment section, DMS or the chat, but here's the only response I have. The first wedding is already off, if you haven't read my comments, and people make it sound like I'm being paid for all this. We have both lost a lot of money here, and it's easy to pretend to not care about money and sound all high and mighty, oh, all you care about is money. But when you're starting a new life with someone, such a big financial loss is going to mess up all your plans. I didn't want to cut off my dad because he is my dad. However bad he may be, cutting him off would be leaving all of my blood family behind, and that shit is pretty fucking scary when you're faced with it. I'll have no family except for D and his side of the family, who he's not that close to anyway, so it's just him and his sister. You think I haven't seen what H went through when she came out to her family? I was there when it all happened. I saw it all go down. I stayed awake with them, supporting them when they cried, and I cleaned up when H threw up after hours of crying while D consoled her. See, those are things you have to go through for a relationship to last 9 years. That should answer all the, why have you not cut off your dad? Why is your fiancé even with you? You are being homophobic for money, comments, and also as a therapeutic rant, so I won't be responding to new comments here anymore. I have accepted my judgment. You are the asshole. Get married in a courthouse then. When you side with the oppressor, you are the oppressor. I get that this sucks, but are you really cool knowing that you chose bigotry to make your big day happen? You are the asshole. At minimum, this should have been a discussion you had with your fiancé prior to informing your SIL. This is your fiancé's wedding too, and you have completely steamrolled his very valid feelings in favor of money and making a homophobe more comfortable. Your wedding with your fiancé is literally the only shot she has of being included in a family wedding after her own family disowned her for something she can't control, and you just tried to take that away from them both without so much as a conversation. Yes. Money shouldn't outrank close family. You are the asshole. Edit. Tell Mr. Money that if you have to cancel the wedding because he withdraws financial support, then you will be sure to tell everyone exactly why. It sounds bad because it is bad. You didn't even ask your fiancé before uninviting his sister from your wedding because your dad is a disgusting homophobe? Not that asking would have made it an okay thing to suggest, but wow. Yikes. Yes, you are the asshole. I'm amazed you have to ask this question. In what universe could you possibly not be the asshole? You are the asshole. Looks like all of daddy's deposits are going to waste one way or another. You are the asshole. So you're not bigoted, but you'll be bigoted if someone pays you? Charming. Info. You really don't understand why uninviting your fiancé's sister to his wedding because your father is a bigot is outrageous? Do you have any love or respect for your fiancé? Why are you marrying him? You are the asshole. I would rather having a wedding at the tip with my sister, than one in a palace without her. Am I the asshole for not forgiving my boyfriend after he called me a slur? For background info, I, 18, am an Asian American and my boyfriend, 20, is white. A couple days ago, we were messing around with each other and I had told him that, one of my friends call her boyfriend a mayo packet. What if that's your next nickname? In a joking way, and he told me if so he'll start calling me a CHNK in a degrading manner. He thought it was very funny, but I got very upset and told him he's being ignorant and that the word is a known slur. He told me that I shouldn't have called him a mayo packet then. I told him I just don't think those two words are on the same level of offense, and he called me a hypocrite. For more info, we make stereotypical jokes to each other all the time. He has told me I'm a dog-eater and mustard skin. But I never knew a good comeback. I had recently heard the term mayo packet from a friend, and thought it would be on the same level as those jokes he had made. It is very childish of me, but it obviously hurted him, which wasn't my intention. And according to some Redditors the term is a slur. I had no idea. And he has never called me such a term as CHNK before. I apologized to him for not realizing sooner that he found such a term offensive and calling him it, and that I normalized racism onto him. I asked if he could stop calling me the CHNK term from now on. He said he does not see the problem with CHNK, and has been repeating it because I apparently deserve it. We haven't talked for days. I've been avoiding confrontation, part because I am still angry at the situation and part because I still want to be in a relationship with him and I am afraid that if I am to resume the argument, we'd break up. Edit. Some might not be familiar with the term, so this is an explanation. It is a new trend among Gen Z to create terms that insult Caucasians the same way POC slurs are used. He has heard of the term from his friends. They joked around with the word on the regular and I've noticed that he found it humorous before. His friends aren't white either. I wouldn't have said something so lightly if I knew he found it insulting. This is the first I've brought it up, and it seems I have assumed that if he's been fine with it it's okay. I agree it is problematic. Edit 2. I usually find jokes racially stereotypes funny. I don't mind people saying that I eat rice all the time or I'm fresh off the boat. People call me those things all the time. Even my boyfriend make those jokes towards me. I suppose I have normalized them. I didn't know where the line was and I crossed it. Edit 3. Edited the original post for more clarity. Edit 4. You guys are right. This shouldn't be a thing in the first place. It's all problematic, slur or not. But this has been going on for a long time for me and him. Even before we dated he had made those jokes toward me. I guess I thought that if I came out and say I'm not okay with it all of the sudden while I've let it gone on for this long is just not ideal. I'm not sure what to do. Edit 5. Y'all need to stop saying I think it's okay to say something racist to white people and get away with it 'cause they're white. I think you can be racist to anyone, and I agree I am part of the problem. Please stop using my post as an excuse to say, white people bad. NTA. I'm sorry but there is no slur for white people. Hi, I'm white. That anyone can make up that is in the level of known slurs for POC. Racial slurs always stem from centuries of racism, abuse, hate and usually slavery. Not a whole lot of that against whites in our history, but a whole lot perpetrated by us. P.S. Mayo packet is hilarious. Not the asshole. Mayo packet is not a racial slur. If he didn't like the joke, he can say that. Ink is a racial slur and not at all the same. There is no history of white people being marginalized and being called mayo packets by people with power over them. The comparison is ridiculous and insulting, and it is a huge problem that he doesn't see the problem with using that word. I was going to say ESH, until I read that you sincerely apologized to him and his response was to double down and claim that he didn't see a problem with the slur. That makes this a not the asshole. Messing up is one thing. But, you were willing to own up to it and apologize. He wasn't. He called you dog-eater and mustard skin? Honey, leave his ass. This man is a racist. I know we grew up in a white man's world where we've been trained to, haha, at microaggressions thrown our way, but this is straight up racism, and just because he is dating a WOC doesn't make him not racist. Look up how white men fetishize Asian women because they are submissive. Get out now. Not the asshole. Jokes about white people aren't remotely comparable to racial slurs. Trying to equate the two in the name of validating fraudulent notions of reverse racism is insidious and a serious problem you aren't obligated to ignore. The escalation of you joking about mayo packet into a joke about calling you a violent slur is sadly the perfect illustration of how white privilege and white fragility operate in tandem. I earnestly hope you boyfriend can learn from this, but you aren't required to help him along. He stepped way over the line and your feelings are entirely fair. Whatever consequences he suffers are his own to deal with. Not the asshole calling a white person, I'm saying this as a white person, a mayo packet, in a joking manner is completely different than calling someone an actual slur that was once used to dehumanize Asians. Anybody who can't understand this shouldn't be taken seriously. Ignore the "you are the asshole" comments. Edited for typo correction. Also recognize Reddit is filled with white men and they're going to say you're ta. You're not, and you don't suck for joking about a hypothetical. Going against the grain to say not the asshole. Calling him a mayo packet was rude and in very poor taste. But it doesn't have the same history as CHNK. It's not on the same level. He's right that you shouldn't have called him that, but I think he's ultimately the A because it's so much worse. Am I the asshole for not trusting my 13-year-old daughter? I'm a mom of 4 girls and 1 boy. My girls are ages 21, 17, 13, and 10. My son is 19, but he's not really in this story. I am a huge shopaholic. I have 2 walk-in closets filled with clothes, bags, shoes, and jewelry. When my older 2 girls each turned 13, I showed them a jewelry box filled with cheaper jewelry and jewelry I didn't care about. I told them if they asked first and treated the items with respect and care, they can borrow whatever they want from it as long as they ask. Years later, I completely trust my older girls to borrow whatever they want from either closet as long as they ask. The older girls have always returned the items in the same condition they got them in and are very responsible with them. The other day was my 13-year-old's first day of 8th grade. I told her she could borrow these cheaper pearl earrings to wear to school. She was all for it. I told her about the jewelry box rules and she agreed and promised to return my earrings safely. She came home from school later without the earrings on. When I asked her what happened, she told me she took them off for gym and left them in her locker but would bring them back tomorrow. I told her we would have a conversation about this after she brought the earrings back. Later I had opened up her backpack to put a permission form back inside it and to grab her lunchbox. When I pulled her lunchbox out, I found my earrings. Both earrings were bent out of shape. One was missing the pearl and the other looked like it had been colored on. I called my daughter down and told her she could no longer borrow my things because I didn't trust her. She got really upset and pointed out my 17-year-old broke a diamond necklace of mine. I told my 13-year-old that my 17-year-old told me the minute it happened and offered to help pay for a new chain. But if my 13-year-old hadn't lied to me, I would reconsider banning her from my jewelry. Later, when my husband came home, he heard about the situation and told me I was being unfair. And that I should let my 13-year-old borrow my stuff. I told him it was a matter of trust and that I no longer trusted her since she lied to me. My husband said it's unfair to her and that I'm picking favorites and acting like an asshole and a hypocrite. I really don't know how to feel. Am I the asshole for not trusting her? Edit. She is not permanently banned from the jewelry box. This is a temporary ban. I told her we can try again with the jewelry when she turns 14 in October and if she is responsible with her own personal jewelry. My title seems a tad misleading. I mean, I no longer trust her with my belongs, not that I don't trust her in any aspect. Edit. We talked with her this morning about bullying. We reminded her she can always talk to one of us, her grandma or one of her older siblings, and that her oldest sister went through a tough time in middle school and that we will do anything she needs to help her if something is going on. She told us that there wasn't any problems at school and that she was fine. My husband and I emailed her guidance counselor about this and she's going to have a meeting with her. But my daughter maintains to us that nothing is happening. Not the asshole. 13 years old lied. Talk to her about why she felt the need to, and maybe allow her the privilege of earning back your trust, and the rights to borrow from the jewelry box. And the other looked like it had been colored on. That seems like really abnormal behavior to do on earrings at 13, and it makes me wonder if there's something going on that you're overlooking. You're focused on the fact your daughter didn't immediately tell you about the damage, but from the way you describe it here it seems like it's coming at the cost of not making yourself an open person to listen to her about what really happened hereon. AKA, you've denied her the chance to work out for herself how to explain to you what happened, and punished her for not being ready to explain on your terms rather than give her the chance to. Honestly, my first thought is that someone else took the earrings and damaged them, aka, she's being harassed and bullied. Not the asshole, but this would be a great time to teach accountability. Discuss with her what she wished she had done instead, ask her what she thinks the consequences should be. Make her a part of the conversation. Taking away something she only recently got access to doesn't leave space for much progress. Not the asshole. Your 17-year-old took responsibility for what happened, and offered to pay for it. It appears that your 13-yo intentionally damaged the jewelry she borrowed and tried to hide it. Tell your husband she's proved she's not mature enough to borrow your things. Give her a year to mature and let her try again when she starts the 9th grade. In the meantime, lock your stuff up. This one will help herself, lose or destroy things and blame others. Good luck. You told her if she treated the item with respect then she would be able to borrow stuff. This had been a clearly established ritual for many years. You're not the asshole for not allowing her to borrow items until she shows she's able to respect and care for another's property. I do think losing trust is a bit much, and I certainly hope you didn't tell her you don't trust her anymore. She's at a crap stage, as I'm sure you recall from your other daughters, and will remember every little comment forever. If she's upset, let her know she can try again much later, but for now she's on probation. Not the asshole. I also have a 13-year-old daughter and I had to ban her from taking my things because of similar incidents. I told her that we would discuss it again in the future once I felt like she was more responsible. But that it was up to her to exhibit responsible behavior. She's been doing great the last few months. You're doing the right thing here, mama. Plus, if this was the rule for the older girls, why should she get a pass? Not the asshole. Think of something she can borrow for a period of time, say a couple of weeks. If she really takes good care of this object, is responsible, maybe allow her a step-up object. And so forth. I don't think you're being unreasonable at all. She lied, and she destroyed your earrings. Not the asshole. You set ground rules and now you are enforcing them. Your husband should back you up on this. This a lesson that she should learn now before it costs her more money down the road as an adult. Am I the asshole for ruining my sister's wedding? I, F22, don't really get along with my family. When I was younger, my family seems to put all their stress and negativity on me during events until it got to the point I cracked, cried, and they claimed I ruined the event and made it all about me. My sister's, F24, wedding just passed and I went. I was the only one not given a +1. I didn't WANTB to go because I knew they would find something with me to be upset about. My family convinced me that if I didn't stay and camp out with everyone I would ruin the wedding. I stayed in my car for the night. The mother of the groom kept harping on me. When she would talk to anyone other than me she would be sweet. To me she would be snippy and snap her fingers in my face. I was getting annoyed but kept my words to myself. I made a joke to her and the bride to try and lighten up the mood that she was breathing down my neck. She didn't take it well and I apologized and tried to avoid her. My mom asked me if I was okay, oblivious to situation, and I told her I was tired, which was true. I had just wrapped up 9 days of doubles. Ceremony went off and we are now in the reception. I got in a better mood, joked around with people, and by 7:30 was so tired I passed out at my table. I had a headache from the heat and alcohol makes me sleepy. I was waiting for the cake cutting before I went to bed, but I started to feel very nauseous. I left to lay down and told 2 people at my table to please grab me before the cake cutting. No one did and I woke up at almost midnight to my boyfriend calling to check on me. I felt bad I wasn't there, but a bit relieved I felt better. I explained myself in the morning to everyone, apologized and went on my way. Today at work I get a call from my mom. I had been getting weird texts from the now married sister about why I disappeared the day prior. I pick up and it's my mom questioning me about my disappearance. I already knew that she was going to say I ruined the wedding by disappearing. She implied it, as well as implying that I was lying about speaking to anyone. I told her about Momzilla and she swore up and down that the mother-in-law wasn't like that and she had known her for years and I must be lying. I snapped. I told her you've known me for 22 and her for 8 and she was still convinced that she did nothing wrong. I told her how Momzilla interrupted a conversation I was having with a friend of my sister by snapping her fingers in my face and demand I play music. She kept going on that I must have been lying, and intentionally left. Calmly, I spoke over her as she screamed and told her I was done speaking and hung up. I sent her a follow-up message, letting her know the trauma the family has put me through with events, and highlighting key points she brushed off in our previous talk. I then told her that I would be LC with her for a few months. Everyone in my family thinks I ruined the wedding. I don't think I did. Am I the asshole? Edit. For people who think I got blackout drunk or drank and drive, I didn't. I tried to include in a previous post that I worked 9 days of doubles open to close at my work 9 days in a row before the wedding, but it made the word count too long. I stayed the night in my car. Not the asshole, or at least not a wedding ruiner. It takes a lot more than accidentally Irish goodbying people to ruin a wedding. They're being dramatic. Not the asshole. Why did you go if you knew what was going to happen? Nobody here seems to care about your feelings. If you're at all able, go and see. I know you said LC, but I don't see any reason to try to keep a relationship with these people if they're this toxic. Not the asshole. You did nothing wrong that I can see. The mill was an awe, and it was really sucky of everyone to just abandon you. Hope you feel better, and LC is probably best. Not the asshole if you politely bowing out to take care of a headache, ruined the wedding. What a sad family you have, but then it either means you are the total life of the party and without you there is nothing, or the fun of the parties is the game. To antagonize you till you cry. Maybe ask them which one it is. Info, not the asshole. You say, I may be the asshole because I made a distasteful joke and fell asleep early. Is the distasteful joke that Mill was breathing down your neck? Because that's not a big thing. What's that about you playing music? Were you the paid, unpaid entertainment? Why does Sisters Mill care so much about you anyway? And do you really think you can ruin an entire wedding by not being present for the cake cutting? I think your normal meter is way out of whack and that some therapy, or at a minimum some long convos with friends with normal families and some books about normal families, would really help you. I'm a little concerned about you passing out at the table from what you drank. That sounds unhealthy. I'm glad you're going LC with those people. Not the asshole, you didn't ruin anything. You stood up for yourself by making a joke, and Momzilla didn't like it because you pointed out her behavior. One person leaving a wedding early does not ruin a whole wedding. If other people are trying to tell you that, then they are the assholes here. You clearly needed rest, and so after the ceremony you got some rest. I am curious to know if you told anyone where you disappeared to. Did you tell them you were going to nap in your car? Or in a hotel room nearby? Or a closet? Did they know where to find you? You also had a phone with you, so I imagine you could have set a timer to have a power nap. However, that still doesn't make you the asshole. If your telling of the events are accurate, you are definitely not the asshole. Info, so wait, you were super drunk. Not the asshole. If your family thinks you're ruining just about every event, I don't get why they are guilt-tripping you into coming in the first place. Sound like they just want a scapegoat for whatever bad happens.